For this week's Climate Close-Up, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into cold weather in Iowa. How cold does it normally get during the winter? How has it been impacted by climate and climate change over the last 50 years or so? So as we have a look at where we are expecting temperatures to head from where we are at now in the middle of December on towards the rest of the year, you'll notice that we do see we're at about our coldest point of the year. Here at the end of December, we're getting towards highs close to that 30-degree mark, lows in the teens, and then as we go through the rest of the winter into January and into February, we don't really see those temperatures change all that much as we go into the middle part of the winter. So, when typically does Iowa see its absolute coldest day of the winter? The graphic that I just showed you is our average high and low temperatures, but let's look at the extremes. When we really do get those brutally cold winter days when temperatures fall below zero, when do we normally see that? Well, here in eastern Iowa, typically that is towards the middle and end of January where we see that coldest condition. Areas farther west typically see their coldest days of the year earlier in December, and then places around the Great Lakes region can sometimes have to wait as late as February to see their coldest time of the year. But here in eastern Iowa, typically middle to end of January is when we expect that coldest temperature of the year. So how cold on average is that coldest temperature? Well, it depends a little bit on where you are across eastern Iowa, but generally close to 20 below zero is the coldest temperature that we can expect to see in a given winter, and that is actual temperature, not wind chill. Cedar Rapids 17 below, Iowa City 14 below, 21 below for Waterloo, and then 18 below for Dubuque. So that is certainly some brutally cold air that we can expect at our coldest point in any given winter. So how has that been impacted over the last several years by climate change? Well, looking at things broad scale, the average temperature over the entirety of the winter, it is our fastest warming season. We've seen a couple of degrees of increase on average over the course of winters over the last 50 years or so since 1970. But how has our absolute coldest temperature been impacted? Well, we've seen a 2-degree increase in our coldest temperature of the winter in Waterloo. In Dubuque, about 2.5-degree change as well. In Cedar Rapids, not much of a change in our absolute coldest temperature of the year. Been pretty constant since 1970. So what are the impacts as we do see extreme cold temperatures either not change a whole lot in the case of Cedar Rapids or in the case of Waterloo and Dubuque, rise a couple of degrees? Well, as we do see those extreme cold days become slightly less extreme, it does have the potential to disrupt the growth pattern and the growth cycle of nut and fruit trees that depend on extended periods of cold weather to produce the next year's crop. Some other things is that we do sometimes see decreased home heating demand during the winter, which can save you time and energy and money, rather, is the big thing, as we go through the winters. However, the other things that we can see, other impacts rather, is less of a winter kill for ticks, mosquitoes, and other insects, and then that can have some pretty big effects the following summer. There's more insects around, and that can be a bit of an annoyance, but also a bit of a health concern as well, as that larger population of insects can then spread insect-borne diseases such as West Nile disease or West Nile virus and Lyme disease. So that is just an overview of things that we can expect as we go through a given winter in terms of our climate and the coldest temperatures that we can expect, and then how we have seen those temperatures change over the last several decades and what kinds of impacts those changes can have.